Greetings everyone, welcome to Advanced, and this match was played in the Sinquefield Cup. It happened in round 7, and with the white pieces we have the current reigning world champion Gukesh and with the black pieces we have an amazing player, a prodigy himself, reached 2800 at the age of 19. That's absolutely spectacular. We have Alireza Firouzja and started chess at 13, by the way, so that's even more impressive. And this battle is going to be very impressive. So without further ado, let's start with this game. Let's see what Gukesh has prepared for Alireza. We have e4 and Alireza goes for c5. We have Sicilian, knight to f3, d6 and d4. Immediately going for the open Sicilian, we have c captures, knight to f6 and knight to c3. This is all main line. We have a6, knight of variation. We have bishop to e2, e5, immediately just pushing the knight back, but knight to b3. And Karpov used to play this a lot. If you've read some of his books, and if you've read some of his analyzed some of his games, you would know this. Bishop to e7, castles, and just rook to e1, and now just knight to c6. And bishop goes back to f1, a5 now, just trying to destabilize the position by pushing it to a4. Those just pushing the knight away, knight to d2 nonetheless, and now just going for bishop to g4, attacking the queen, f3 now, and f3 can be played in this position. This structure is very solid, and now just bishop back to e6, but now just comes this knight to c4, knight to d4, and now just a4, not allowing a4 to be pushed himself. Now maybe the rook is going to join in the party. That bishop is defended, but a rook is going to attack. You're going to have to move it to some place, and most likely it's going to be moved to e3. Then we have this amazing pressure along d5, and you have to understand, every Sicilian player, you've heard this position, you've heard this statement that if as a Sicilian player, if you're able to push d5, your game would be spectacular. And that's the idea, because you don't want to allow, there's extreme pressure on the d5 square. You don't want to allow anyone to get rid of that weak backwards d6 pawn. And if you're able to push d5 and get away with it, then I guess your position is absolutely spectacular. But here rook to c8 was played, but now just comes knight to e3 as planned. Now knight to h5, we have g3 is a very beautiful move, because the knight, you don't allow ever knight to jump to f4 in this position, and there is no way you can take advantage of the weakness that has been there on the queen side. Queen to b6 was played. Now there is some pressure, and you have to be a little bit careful about this as well. You cannot move the knight here. If you're wondering to just attack the queen, I mean, wherever you're going to move, you're going to just go with the attack towards with the queen. I mean, I can just show you, but the idea is this knight captures, and if you move, let's say you move, you're just getting checkmated. So you have to be careful about stuff like this, not fall for such very bad tactics. A king to h1 was played by Gukesh. Obviously he's the world champion, he's not going to fall for those tricks. We have knight to f6, but now just comes knight to b5 and knight to d7. Now just both players just re-maneuvering their knights to the perfect squares. Rook to a3, but now rook to c5. Rook to a3, bit of a passive move, but you have to get the rook out somewhere. This bishop on c1, I mean, you're not going to be able to get that bishop out of its cage for a while now, so it's better to just develop the rook that way. And knight to c3 was played, but now just comes queen to d8, and we have reached the similar position that we had a few moves ago, but just the knights are on different squares for black. So is it good for black? Is it better for white? We'll see, but you have to find just one crucial move in this position to make it a little bit difficult for black to play this variation. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video, try and look at this position very positionally. Just try and find out the best positional move in this. So have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. The move is that you have to occupy the d5 square, and you have to do it with the c knight, simply because of the fact that you want to be able to push c3 and kick this knight off. That's the only idea. Knight goes to a6, now you play c3, and after knight to c6 you just play knight to c4. I mean, if you look at this position, this position is so amazing that you can play any moves and almost you can get away with it. You can also push h4 in this position. You can get the knight to f5, you can get the knight to c4, you can get the knight to d3, you can get the knight to even b5. Everything is working in this. Even queen to b6 is fine in this position. So this position is very nice, but the best move is knight to c4, trying to go there. But here after bishop captures, you place e captures, and still the position is very agreeing with you. You have a d5 pawn, and the structure is a bit too passive. That bishop is basically a pawn, the knights are not in the game, and with all of this, maybe you just start an attack towards the king side and you'll be all good. And the position is very good for Gukesh, and most likely in his hands it's going to be winning. But then after queen to d8, knight e to d5 was played, and there is a bit of difference, because I told you have to be able to allow that c3 thrust. But here after knight to a6, is the best move by Alireza in this position, and he found it within seconds. I mean, he is Alireza for a reason. We have bishop caps on a6. You have to eliminate that knight. You don't want that knight to come into the position, challenge that d5 square, and also just annoy you. You don't want that to happen. So after b captures, we have bishop to e3, bishop caps on d5, e captures, rook to c4, and now just queen to d3, attacking the rook. But now just comes queen to c8, very nicely defending here. And it's now a little bit cramped, as you saw with the position where after e captures, this was the position. And now once you look at this, after After here, you can understand that it's a very good position for black. Black can actually play this. And here we have bishop captures, rook captures, and now you have to move the queen, so queen to e2. But now f5, and f5 is an amazing move. I mean, it frees up the rook, you can push those pawns, your position is absolutely spectacular here. And rook to b3 was played, now trying to get the rook into the game. And maybe, I don't know how you're going to get this knight out of its cage. There is no square for knight. I mean, you can remaneuver the knight, but even then it has no squares. I mean, how are you ever going to get this into the game? It's just very, very unclear. But again, you have to figure out something in this position. I mean, Gukesh was better, but he had to find that move with moving the knight c to d5, and I think everything would have been fine for him, but he missed it. He went for knight e, and now it's going to be a little bit difficult. Bishop to g5 was played, but now just f4, and that's what happens. Normally when you try to attack, you try to get a good position right off the opening, you have something prepared, you play it, but in the middle game you're not able to find the perfect move. Now you have to defend, and now you have to continuously fight for the better move, and that's what to do. You have to just survive in this position. But Gukesh has the time. He has 30 minutes, Alireza has 10 minutes, so maybe he'll be able to cook up something really, really good. But here just e captures was played, and queen to e6. And again, this is the second pause the video moment of the game. You have to now find out the best move in this position for black, so have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move, and the move is queen captures on e6. That's the only move in this position, and you have to be very, very careful. Black is better, and Alireza can win this, but only if he's able to find this right move. And Gukesh cannot capture. You cannot capture with this rook. You do whatever you want to, but you have to capture with the pawn. If you dare to capture with this rook in this position, the position just completely falls apart. And this is a very beautiful endgame. You can see that black has actually 4 pawn islands, so Alireza could be worse, but he's not worse just because of this one thing. Pawn structure for white is absolutely amazing. Material seems equal, but unfortunately it's not, because you have this beautiful move f3. And now you just see it, and everything starts to make sense, because you might be wondering now, even now, like, I can get the king into the game. Yes, it seems like my king is trapped, maybe there are some background issues, but other than that, you cannot get this other rook into the game. And how are you ever going to get that rook into the game and start an attack? Well, I can, because here king to g1, now just comes rook to d2. I'm cutting your king off forever from joining this. And here, even if you try to kick my bishop off with some h4 and trying to make some breathing room for the king, h4 now, but I can play this spectacular move f4 in this position, and that's such a beautiful move. You can never capture my bishop. If you capture my bishop, then just comes this amazing f captures, and your game is over before it even began. I mean, just look at this. This is absolutely amazing. All of these squares, and the king is just boxed in. I'm just going to push the pawn, you go wherever you want to, then queen is coming next. If you block, then this pawn comes in, and it's completely losing. There is no way you can survive this, and it's going to be completely over. And if you're thinking that I'm not forced to capture the bishop, I can do something else, what are you going to do? There is nothing in this position. Let's say you play knight to e4 trying to survive, but after f captures and knight caps on g3, even if you capture now, again the still 2 pawns would be absolutely just insanely crushing you. So here, after bishop caps on h4, you have to move the knight away, and that pawn push is coming. Your position is completely lost. All you can do is resign in this position. So here, after rook caps on e6, that is not the correct move. You have to play d captures, and maybe just maybe you'll be able to do something with it, but it will be a trade-off. I mean, you have the f pawn, Mukesh would have the e pawn, so somewhere along the line, you are 9 minutes on the clock, he's 30 minutes, so you have to keep that in mind as well. But here, after queen to e6, Alireza for some reason did not see all of this. He's low on the clock, so he cannot calculate everything. He went king to h8, but now it's a draw. Here, queen captures, rook captures, but now after rook to b6, now comes this f captures, but here h captures, and now just h6. And now I mean, there is nothing in this position. Even now, if you think that maybe I'm like a few pawns up, well, that is true in some sense. I mean, 6 to 5, it's the situation, but again, it's still nothing. It rook caps on a6 was played by Gukesh, but just bishop to d2 now. But now this comes knight to b5, we have rook caps on d5, rook to e2, rook caps on c2, we have rook caps on d6, just trading everything and going into an endgame right away. Rook caps on d6, knight captures, rook caps on b2, king to g2, bishop to c3, and now just going for this, trading the rooks as well. Bishop captures, and now you might be wondering, it's 2 to 4. How the hell is this a draw? Well, it is a draw because the queening square on either side is still, it's just not going to work out, because after knight caps on f5, now it's not 4, it's actually 2 to 3, and that's actually, unfortunately for you, a draw, because king to g8, knight to f3. I'll just show you. King to f7, g4, king to f6 was played, knight to e3 was played, king to g5, knight to c4, bishop to c3. So both players have to try to play it out, but both players know it's a draw. And bishop to e5, because you can never push, is what you have to understand. I can happily just give up the knight, for one of these pawns. Let's say you push it all the way, I just trade, and I can just do. Let me just show you a line, because here I have knight to c4, bishop to c7, knight to c3, g6, knight to d5, attacking the bishop. Bishop moves, knight to e3, king to h4, king to g2, bishop to f4, knight to c4, king, bishop to c7, and you'll see that both players are just trying to play on the clock. I mean, Alireza was seconds on the clock trying to figure out what to do in this position, but once you reach a perfect situation where you're attacking a pawn, now you have to understand that after king to g4, bishop to d8, knight to f2, king to g2, knight to h3, king to f1, knight to f4, king to f2, knight to g6, and king to e3, here you can actually capture the pawn. Because if you're thinking that maybe it's going to be not a draw, it's a draw. Knight caps on h4, bishop captures, you just capture it. And if you're thinking I'm not going to reach on time, you're very much on time. King to d4, king to g4, king to c4, king to f3, king to b4, and slowly you get into the position. You can never do anything in this. Let's say you try to push the pawn, but you cannot weasel out of the square, because king is always going to oppose you. And if you try to do anything other than this, if you push the pawn, I just go to the square. This is what happens when it's an a pawn, it's an h pawn, it's most likely a draw. But then after king to e3, knight to e5 was played, and Gukesh tried to win, win to a draw in a different way, knight to c4. But now going for this, knight caps on a5, bishop captures, and just king captures, and still a draw. Bishop to e4, a5, bishop caps on a5 was played, and it was on just move 78 that both players agreed to a draw. I went with the last part a little bit fast. I'm sorry about that, because it's still a draw. There is no point in me calculating rubbish moves that they played just to reach to a draw, because both players know it's a draw by default. So you cannot do anything. But still, I apologize if it was a little bit too fast. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned to the channel and stay updated with the channel. I'm covering most of these games, most of these amazing games. So it's just very, very helpful if you're able to understand these games, and if you're able to learn something from it. That's very much amazing. So yeah, I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon. Thank you for watching.